you, Maja. So welcome everyone to this breakout room. Once more, my name is John Elima, and I work with Village Enterprise Uganda as a monitoring and evaluation lead. So as I mentioned earlier, I would like to share with you how we use TaroWorks with Salesforce integration. So basically how TaroWorks works is in such a way that it's automatically integrated to salesforce.com. And maybe perhaps as we all are aware, salesforce.com is really, I think, in my opinion, the world's #1 CRM. And so that's the other advantage that actually TaroWorks comes up with. So why did we go for TaroWorks? So as I mentioned earlier in my pitch, so sometime back around 2012, we realized we're collecting a lot of data. And so much of that data we're collecting manually. And so we have to enter into the databases manually. And so we started thinking of a system that helps, first of all, to reduce on the time that we spend on the data entry and also the cost. Secondly, we also noticed that with manual data entry, there are a lot of errors. And so we also wanted to reduce on those errors to make sure we have high quality data. And then also, most importantly, we wanted a solution which enables us to share the insights with the field team. And so we started looking around until we discovered about TaroWorks. And then we're like, wow, I think this is an application for us. So when we navigated through, we realized that it was coming with extended applications. So those are the reasons why. One, it's simple to use TaroWorks, both the front end user and the back end as well. So like creating forms in the back end and also using it actually for data collection in the front end. The user interface is super friendly and simple. That's one thing that excited us. And then extended functionality. So we found that we could actually share, we could actually push back the records that we already have in our system back to the mobile users. So for example, when they're going to mentor business groups, we don't have to have them again, enter the names and the details of the business groups afresh in the devices. We have already that information that they provided when they were doing business group registration. And so what we just do is to push back that information to their devices. Then they just select which group they're mentoring, and then they fill their mentoring log. And so that two-way data flow is also the other advantage that we saw. That's why we actually went for TaroWorks. As I also said, TaroWorks comes with a full suite of the PPI scorecards. So I think for all the countries globally. And so for us, we use the PPI tool as our targeting tool. It's actually the tool that we use to objectively identify households that are living under the poverty line of 190 a day. And so when we found out that TaroWorks actually comes with that embedded library, we were so excited. And so that's why we went for TaroWorks. And then also TaroWorks has rich media fields. You can capture the GPS locations, can capture photos, signatures, and timestamps. And then because it is integrated with the Salesforce, we could also take advantage of the robust analytic features like the real-time reports and dashboards. And so, and that is actually the power behind our adaptive management system currently, which I will demonstrate at the end of the slides. So maybe next slide. Yes, so when you launch that app, I'm drawing your attention to the diagram on the right. When you launch TaroWorks, when you open it, like any other application on your Android, so it basically comes with 4 menus, as you see them here. There's a sync button, there is a button for jobs, settings, and then performance. You can actually track even how data collection is going on in the field using the performance button. But majorly, our field staff utilize those 2 functions, the sync function and the jobs. So when they want to collect a survey, they have to go to the jobs, that I will demonstrate later, and then they're able to collect that survey. Once they have collected those surveys or that data, they come now and where they're able to access internet and just press on the button sync, and that information comes to the system. So any updates that we make in the system also go to the devices when they synchronize. So in terms of the users, mainly for us, it is the program staff and also the M&E staff, especially for the program staff, our field associates who supervise our field staff, whom we call the business mentors. So those are the major users. And also our innovations team, when they are testing initiatives and some assumptions, so usually they utilize this tool so much when they're doing those pilots. And then the M&E staff. So we use TaroWorks for also monitoring and evaluation purposes. So for data collection, for decision making. And mainly the staff we use it are the numerators and the senior numerators. In terms of the challenges, we haven't really registered major challenges with this technology. However, sometimes maybe because of poor internet connectivity, our users experience issues with syncing errors. So when they try to synchronize and the network is poor, it doesn't complete. And then also occasionally, sometimes they fail to capture the GPS locations, especially when they're in the field and especially when the weather conditions are poor. One time when we registered a major challenge was when we upgraded to the new version of the app. And we did not recognize at that time that we needed also to use phones with improved resources, like in terms of the random access, the memory of the phones, and also the Android version. And so because we didn't know that, we should have maybe upgraded also the devices. So we ran into a major issue where all our data was not syncing. But when we got back to TaroWorks, they were able to create for us a special patch where we're able now to synchronize all our data before we migrated to the new version of TaroWorks and also upgraded our devices. And so also that dedicated support that TaroWorks provides to its clients is also the other thing that excites us about TaroWorks. In terms of the cost, maybe if I could also speak to that briefly. So there are quite a number of options. There is a startup volume where you can have up to 20 users, and that costs, I think, around $375 per month. There is a smaller volume where you can have up to 40 users, and that costs around $500 per month. We also have a large volume of up to 70 users. That costs around $1,000 per month. But also there's an enterprise volume where you can have 150 plus users. So currently, I think we're about 188 users of TaroWorks in our organization. So that's the volume we're on. And I think the price is negotiable when you reach out to TaroWorks. Next slide. So I think what I'm going to do next is to basically show you how we actually use this TaroWorks Salesforce integration for field operations management, and especially also powering our adaptive management system. So you'll allow me now to share my screen.
And just a heads up, John, we have about 10 minutes left in the room. So keep that in mind, so we leave some time for questions as well.
Yes, so kindly let me know when you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the TaroWorks app. So I'm basically using Android app launcher on my laptop. So when you launch it, so you see those 4 menus. And as I told you, for mobile users, the 2 menus that they work with on a day-to-day basis is the sync and the jobs, but mainly the jobs, because that's the one that I think they work 90% of the time. So when you launch that, so what you see here is a number of forms that were created, data capture forms. As I told you earlier, we are really a data-driven organization. So we have a lot of data, both for monitoring and evaluation, but also for program management. For example, our impact, we measured using the consumption and expenditure survey as a proxy. And that's why you see there C&E, exit surveys, and others. So you also see here also the PPI exit. So maybe if I can spend a second to show you, for example, how we capture our mentoring logs. So when they go to the business mentoring log, they start a new job. And we can also embed instructions within the form. So your mobile users can be able to click on instructions to read any instructions that you wish them to be aware of. And then when you launch the job, so each of them has what we call a cycle identifier. So we created cycle identifier for each of our program staff every cycle. And so they'll select the appropriate. So you are seeing many here because I'm using the test account that the M&E team uses. So for example, for Joshua, he would, for example, open up that. And now these are the business groups. I told you earlier on that functionality that comes with TaroWorks, where you're able to push back records from the system to the mobile user. And so, for example, if they want to mentor Amani, the third group here, so you also see here again, these are the members of that group. So all that information we have in the system and we push back, we don't require them to enter that information afresh. And so what happens is they have to select who of these business owners or entrepreneurs that belong to that business group are present during that mentoring session. And so that's what you see. So if all are available, they can basically select all, or they can select those who are available. Say, for example, maybe Samuel and Joseph are the ones who are available for that mentoring session. And so, and then you proceed with the form. So if you go next, I just want to show you a few fields. I'll not go through the whole form because of time, because I'll need to take you to the adaptive management bit of it in Salesforce. So this is what I told you, so they can capture the timestamps and any information that is relevant that we want to know as an organization in regard to mentoring and how it is happening in the field. And so they'll fill that information and then they'll be able to synchronize this data, and then we see at the end of the day what is happening. And then we're also able to cross-tabulate and see at the end of it all, what was the impact of mentoring, for example, on business outcomes? What is the relationship? Did businesses that received more mentoring visits, register more success than those that did not? So that's how we use this information to inform decision making. So allow me now to take you to our adaptive management system in Salesforce. So let me stop sharing this.
While you do that, I want to open up the floor, John, because we have so little time left. So if there's anyone who has a question this far in the presentation, I think please go ahead and ask.
Hi, this is Navin from World Program Ethiopia. If I may come in, very great presentation, very interesting. I'm from supply chain background, but I can see a lot of value already. But a quick question on what about the security of the data that you are collecting using this application? What is the needs or how intensive it is in terms of training new people? I see that it is quite customizable. And what about the analysis or in terms of the tools required to do the output and the analysis from the data collected? Over.
Okay, so thank you. So let me begin with the security. So our agreement with the TaroWorks includes that aspect of data security. So they are entirely responsible for the security of our data in their cloud database. And so what we do, as you see here on my screen already, so we can download that data from our system. We download it offline, and then our staff are trained, especially using tools like Stata, where they do the cleaning. Because also, as you see these dashboards, the first time the data is synchronized, the data is raw, but it's showing on the dashboards. So our team has to be very diligent in cleaning this data and making updates so that the information which is reflected is up to date. And so in regard to training new staff, yes, so each time we recruit new staff, we have an onboarding session where we take them through how to use some of these tools. Both the technical staff like the monitoring and evaluation team, but also our field staff. So, and as I told you, the system is really very simple. So for them, in the front end, it's basically taking them through our surveys, making them understand what they're supposed to, what they're supposed to do, and the procedure they're supposed to follow. And then when the data comes to the system, now it is the monitoring and evaluation team that does the work of making sure it is clean, the system is updated, and the dashboards are up to date.
Great, thank you. And you can also post questions in the chat. We have about 5 minutes left in the room, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our adaptive management system, and what I'm showing you here are basically the dashboards that we have created to be able to track the health of our businesses. Because for us, our theory of change lays more focus on the success of business groups and savings groups if we have to register good outcomes at the household level. So if the groups succeed and the savings groups succeed, then we are sure also household level outcomes will be registered. And so we pay keen attention to the health of the business groups particularly. And what you see here is basically dashboards that are showing instances of monitoring of this business health. So we collect this data 3 times a year. So what you see here is business health post SB1, business health post SB2, and post PR1. So those are the 3 different times in a year when we send our enumerators to the field to collect information on how the businesses are doing. And we developed a categorization system where businesses fall under either the yellow category, the red category, the green, or black. As you see on the key on the right, black means those businesses have failed. Green means those businesses are doing very well. Yellow means, yes, they're doing well, but they are struggling in some aspects. And red really means they are really struggling.
Right.
And so we developed these dashboards at different levels. So what you're viewing here is the country director level dashboards, but we drill down this dashboard up to the field staff. So the field officer will be able to see dashboards that are specifically giving them information in regard to their business groups that they created. And so, for example, they will see here, if you see Anthony under business health post SB2 dashboard, David, for example, will see that under him, there are quite a number of red businesses. And so that informs their planning. Like, how do we transform these businesses, at least from red to yellow, and then from yellow to green, because ultimately we want all businesses to be green.
Right.
So this is how they use this information. Yeah. And then also for savings groups, our savings groups, we call them BSGs, like business savings groups, because purposely they are formed so that our entrepreneurs are able to borrow from those savings groups to grow their businesses. That's why we call them business savings groups. So we also track outcomes and outputs at this level. For example, we have a threshold that by the time we exit, these business groups should have at least saved, this savings group should have at least saved around $2,000 as a minimum.
That's wonderful. I'm so sorry, John, to interrupt you, but we're soon going to be sent back into the main room. And I think you've shown really the potential of tracking almost real time how these savings groups and businesses are evolving. I think Tawfiq has a question. Yes?
Yes, my question was that, thank you very much for the presentation. Being a monetary evaluation person, I really appreciate what you're doing. My question is, are you using the data to kind of influence decisions being taken in a business setting where you're working, kind of, or it's mainly to just take surveys and then give to other organizations, or maybe kind of get information and give to other organizations? Or it's purely an enterprise that use data to drive decisions that you are making? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is that what TaroWorks does, somehow Kobo and maybe Power BI kind of does the same thing, but it's also absolutely free. So I don't know.
I'm sorry, Tawfiq, I don't think I really had your question. I think
and I'm really sorry. We're going to be swooped back into the main room in just a few seconds. So if you have more questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll try to respond to them after this webinar, because I think there's so many unanswered questions. But I want to thank John and I want to thank everyone in this room for joining.